All right, going back to the Bradley, the M2A2 ODS version from Tamiya. Been quite a while since I did a video on this, and the reason behind that is every time I make an improvement, there seems to be two more things that need an improvement that seem to be important, and it just kind of snowballs on itself. And every time I make an improvement and I think I've got a great piece done, then I find a fresh new photo or see a fresh new museum piece slash static piece out in the wild and find out that I need to tweak this detail or tweak that detail. So I'm going to go over what I've got right now. I'm going to go into how far I can with step 2 and tell you what I'm going to plan for step 3. So the easiest part is, what can I add in step 2 from the kit? Well, we got the lower hull, which is what it is. I'm not going to mess with it and say cut all the arms off and make new road wheel arms or anything along those lines. And we've got part E26, which is the lower frontal armor. Now, there is an issue with this that people have pointed out in the past, in particular to this kit. And I'm just looking for a pencil. Here we go. And that is that right in here, this should also be 2 parts. You can see there's a divider line right down here that Tamiya has included, but in this they made this one piece, and this actually needs to be 2. It's as simple as taking a straight edge like so, just setting it up. Now for me doing this, I enjoy using my chisel head because it doesn't have a sharp point as much as it has a sharp edge. I'm going to line it up with what's already there that Tamiya provided. Make sure it's straight, and then just start by carving that in. This is going to take a little bit of work just to get that in there, but it should be in line and it shouldn't be overdone. And in my opinion, it's not. Going across the top right here, it's just a matter of, I like to just indent at a 90-degree angle. And now it's set up. Now, maybe it's not to your specifications. You want something a little bit nicer in that. Go right ahead, you know, do what you got to do. I am putting it in so that I know it's there and it's done, and if I feel like it needs to be done some more, then I can. But I'm not as worried about this in particular. I just want to have that there for people to see, because and show that I know that this problem existed and that I did deal with it. But this isn't the focus of the work that I'm doing. So I did it, you know, it's done. So I'm gonna glue this piece right on here. Shouldn't be an issue. Just using my regular Tester's liquid glue. Some there, generous application. And this gets it on the part, on the lower hull. Then I just make sure that it's square up. Right there. Nothing to worry about. And I can deal with this later on if I want to, if it shows up, if I'm really worried about it. I personally am not, and at this point I'm going to take some of this liquid glue, go in from the sides, just to make sure that this gets tamped down real good. And if it's pulling up on the edges like it seemed to be, I would even clamp it down if needed. Seems like a little bit of overkill, but you want this to look like it is solidly bolted to the hull, not just lightly glued. So that's pretty much all that I'm using straight from the kit. I've got the brand new final drive settings or inserts, and I set them up so that they fill in the hole here and here. If people are not going to use the side skirts and this might be seen, then you can much more easily just putty and sand that out rather than having to fill it. It does leave a hole right there, which I'm not filling in, so you'll have to plug that up. And again, the way that this is set up, I've got it so you can use the kit parts and add that right there. Boom, it's done. However, some of the photos that I've seen and some of the measurements that I took on the real thing indicate that this isn't quite correct for a ODS vehicle, so I am looking into making new ones real fast. I haven't made a decision on that, and I know I've kind of been waffling on that for a while, but again, that's because I finished up the details on this, which is to bring all the bolt heads around, make sure all the shapes are good in here, everything fits, so then you just drop it in, glue it in, done. Now, the one I had for the other side broke. The water washable resin that I am using, now I can use this and it shouldn't be a problem, but the water washable resin that I've been using in the past is pretty brittle. They seem to have changed their formula recently, and it seems a little more flexible, so I'm going to reprint these parts real soon, like hopefully today or tomorrow, and with the newer resin, and then show what that looks like. Hopefully at that point in time I'll also have these final drive covers, humps, mounts, whatever you want to call it, done in that regard. Now, moving on to the rear, we've talked about before that the idler mounts were a joke, and it turned out to be even worse than I thought. So I went in and took my own measurements, took my own photos, and this is the best that I came up with right here. This is by far the most accurate idler mount setup for anything, any kit. Nothing even comes close. And that's not necessarily a rip on the companies, because how much were you going to see? But I really wanted this to be correct. So Tamiya doesn't have this right. Trumpeter does not have this right. DML does not have this right. Ryefield does not have this right. Orochi does not have this right. Meng does not have this right. Ryefield, I guess, doesn't do one. My mistake on that one. I was thinking of Meng. None of the companies, none of the kits have this set up correctly. The closest one was Meng, and it had somewhat of a mount with the shock arm, but not nearly as set up as this. Not tooting my own horn, I just think that this is a really important detail piece considering what I'm trying to do. So I've got this set up, and these are offset just like the torsion bars. So on the other side, and again, this was that fragile resin, the brittle resin. On the other side, this is how this one mounts. So it's a little bit offset here, and this one is set up so that it goes right there. So I've got that work done. The problem is that there is the insert that Tamiya puts in one of the following steps, and that interferes with this. And so I'm going to have to figure out the engineering on that and what needs to be done, as far as, do I have to change this part to adapt to that, or do I make a new part for to replace that Tamiya piece that's interfering? Get to that later. Not going to worry about it. I just want you guys to know that this is done and good. The road wheels took at least 5 different revamps to get correct, because it seems like every single time I got a road wheel done, there was another detail. The big thing is that the actual road wheels for the M2 series Bradleys, M3 series Bradleys, and the M109 howitzers, all using the same road wheels, there are no rims on these wheels. The vulcanized rubber goes right up to the edge where it starts to curve into the inside and goes with it all the way down and to the edge. So there's no rim. There's a little bit of a hump where it starts to thin out, but it is not even close to being a rim like you would expect to see. So this is modeled correctly. The hub is much more accurate than my previous iterations, and same with the bolts on the inside. Now this would represent the aluminum wheel with the steel inserts. I am going to go with that for older wheels just because I think it adds a little more detail with those bolt heads in there, or rivet heads is technically what I believe they are. Funny thing is when they paint them with that Kark paint, it's so thick I can't tell if they're rivets or if they're bolt heads, and it's difficult to figure that out. Not too worried about it, but just a note of detail. Regardless, the wheels that I have are also still set up for the Tamiya polycaps. Right here, just as a bit of comparison, I wanted to show, here's the rim still that I had from the previous iteration. I do have road wheels without that now, but again, I wanted to show that kind of difference that they have. That's how they look. It's odd, but that's the way it is. So I've got that done. I will be printing up an entire road wheel set specific for this kit. That'll be in the next step, showing those off. As you can see, step 3 does have that, and we'll deal with that. And as a side note, I also printed these off without the polycap hole. I have them completely together in one piece for my older DML MLRS kit that this vastly improves the wheels as well, and everything works on that. So this is going to be useful for a lot of other kits that are out there. That said, the return rollers I'm going to redo. I have not even designed them yet. That should be quick, just because the setup that they have on the real vehicle is a fair amount different from how Tamiya has them here. Both the mounting and then, if I remember correctly, the front mount is moved over one step. I thought I had a... Oh, yeah, it's the front one, and basically it goes a little bit further in front for it to be accurate to the real deal. So I am going to be showing how I'll nip that off and then put the new ones on and go from there. That should be fairly quick as well. And once I figure out with this final dry, or with the idler mount back here, I'm also going to see if I want to put a patch on there so that's filled in quickly, because if I did this, if you put this on, you can see all those holes are there. But right now I'm leaning more towards putting a sheet of styrene in the back for any modeler, and then you just fill those with putty or whatever, smooth it out, sand it all down flat, then start adding the detail parts. That seems to be the best, because anything that goes over the top is going to leave a ridge here that's inaccurate. You're kind of trying to draw attention to this area, and that's going to be one of those glaring weaknesses. I'm really finding it hard not to dig into the details and just do everything different. I don't want to do that. So with that, we've done all of step 2 that we can with the kit parts, which is adding this piece. Looking forward to having another video up real soon with this, with these parts printed and all that. So look for that in the near future. Thanks, and see you then.